Good evenings, Freddy Vasquez with Basement Politics Unfiltered. Tonight, I want to talk about the Yonkers Public School, the budget meeting, and also the chair of the committee, the education committee tonight. Join me, I'm Freddy Vasquez. Good evening, folks. Freddy Vasquez. Tonight on Basement Politics, I want to discuss the Board of Education. The Yonkers Public Schools and the Board of Education. The budget, how much are students getting? How much do you know about the budget? What about foundation aid? How much do you know about that? Let's discuss. And I also want to talk about the chair, the education committee. Good evening, folks. Good evening. I'm Freddy Vasquez, Basement Politics Unfiltered. Tonight, I wanted to go over the Yonkers Public School budget and talk a little bit about some statistics here in the Yonkers Public Schools that you may or may not be familiar with, but I do want to discuss that stuff. So anyway, the Yonkers Public School meeting and the budget committee meeting was held last week, or I should say early this week. And the passing of the annual budget. All were present at yesterday. It was yesterday when I wrote this Yonkers Public School budget meeting. The superintendent, Dr. Edwin Quesada, did an excellent job. And I say that because I watched many of the meetings, the budget meetings. There were many held over the course of, I believe, 2 or 3 weeks. And I seen different department heads come up and present their budgets. And he did a very excellent job. And maybe because he's an educator, that's what they do. He presented a slideshow that was very, very well put together. He did an excellent job. In fact, I watched several budget meetings, like I said, and he probably had the best presentation out of all the department heads. For your information, the school board was represented by the vice president of the Yonkers Board of Education, Dr. Del Vecchio. Hope I pronounced that right. She spoke first before Dr. Quesada went on, and she, thanked them for having her there, and she on behalf of the school board. Dr. Quesada began his presentation with this year's theme: restoration, renewal, and hope. That was a theme selected by superintendent this year, as this was the first full year back for students and teachers after the pandemic, right? So restoration, renewal, and hope. He told the Yonkers City Council that YPS still needed more money. They need more money for next year. Every department actually went up there and asked for more money. But the one that I support was the school head there, Dr. Quesada. I always a big support in education. The city of Yonkers has roughly 30,000 students. I want to go over a little stats here. 30,000 students. The city of Yonkers, total students, not in the public schools, but total students in the city, 30,000 students that attend the public schools, charter schools, and Catholic school here in the city. Yonkers Public Schools has 25,192 students from age 3 all the way up to 12th grade. Now, here's a statistic that I found very alarming. 75% of the students are economically disadvantaged. They live at or below the poverty line. 18% are students with disabilities, or about 4,535 students. 12%, or 3,023 students, are English language learners. 61% of the student body is Latino, which is about 15,367 students, and 16%, or roughly 4,031 students, are Black or African American. The remaining 23% are white, other various national ethnicities, I should say, races. Latinos at 61% make up the largest single group, although Hispanic make up only roughly 43% of the total population here in the city, right? So out of 25,192 students, less than 5,000 are white. About 1,000 more than African Americans. So African Americans, again, roughly 4,000, and whites about 5,000. and they make up. I'm sorry. Yeah. Uh, did I lose my track here? African Americans, who make up, I should say, 13 to 14% of the population, are 16% in the Yonkers public schools. This is why I believe we need more Hispanic representation. It's not about, race or anything like that, but I believe that we do need more Hispanic representation, specifically in our government. The city of Yonkers is a huge number of Hispanics here living in the city. In our school makeup, 61% Hispanic students. Right. So we need better representation to reflect that. But again, they must be qualified. Don't just put people in there just because they're Latino. Okay. They have to be qualified and they have to represent us correctly. Okay. You understand what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Anyway, so we need qualified administrators of color. That's another big, I don't want to say issue or thing that's often brought up. Especially black males, people have told me they would like to see more black male administrators, more black principals, and black teachers. It's especially males, Hispanic males as well. That's very much needed. A lot of the young men that are attending schools are in single family homes, single mothers. They don't have a male in the home. So having strong black and Hispanic males at the schools, teachers, administrators, I think it's very much needed. I think it's important. That's important, right? Again, out of 25,192 students, there are approximately 800 students in charter schools, like the Charter School of Excellence over there on Warburton, which I currently hear has to have at least 50% of their students from New York City. The Yonkers Public Schools employs about 3,940 people, making the Yonkers Public School the largest employer here in the city of Yonkers. Question: how many of them live in Yonkers? How many of those employed by the city of Yonkers actually live in Yonkers? All right. It's too expensive for them, although they do make a great salary, but it's still too expensive here to live in Yonkers. 121 are administrators, 1,964 are teachers, 1,794 are civil service employees, and 50 work in the central office. They're non-represented, and 11 Teamsters. Not sure what that means, but that's what was on there. Due to the pandemic, Dr. Quesada asked for an increase in funding for universal pre-K. He asked the state for a $5 million increase in regards to social emotional needs, which is super important, especially coming off the pandemic. There's a huge need for social workers and therapists, counselors in our schools. Our children, who are already dealing, many of them, with some traumatic experience, are even more traumatized now as a result of what we went through. In regards to social emotional needs, the superintendent said that it is a matter they have managed to address, but would like more funding, as well as more funding for students with disabilities. And I hear that's a big, complaint from many parents, especially who have kids in the school here in the city of Yonkers, especially if they are students with disabilities, if they're students who have an IEP. And again, I'm not blaming anyone, but many parents have complained that their students have not been evaluated in 4 to 5 years. And that's, if you don't have a student with an IEP, you have to understand how important it is that they get evaluated. They need to know where that child is at so they can provide them the appropriate services so that they progress, right? They progress, the way they should be progressing. And what happened is, if they're not evaluated, which is a lot of parents are having issues, they're given services or provided educational resources or learning that is, not where they're at. And that can cause trouble, leaving many students behind as a result, furthering their, their struggle to catch up, right? So, as well as careers, technical education. He said that they did fight hard, right? They needed more funding for students with disabilities, as well as career and technical education with the programs. He said they did fight hard for more funding last year, and while they did receive more money, they did not get everything they asked for. However, if you listen to the interview with the majority leader yesterday on the Yonkers Voice, who is the chair of the education committee, she was proud of the budget that they voted on and said that they got everything they needed for the schools and students. But according to Dr. Quesada, the man that is in charge and heads the Yonkers Public Schools, they did not get everything asked for. He believes that there is more funding the state owes the city in foundation fund. And I want to talk about foundation aid really quick. And it's important because this is how the state determines how much money they're going to provide a school district. And one of the big complaints from the school board and the Board of Education here is that the state does not give Yonkers enough money. Although, if you read the New York State Comptroller's reports, they are asking Yonkers to rely less on state funding. So, really quick, foundation aid, right? On October 11th, I want to go back to last year really quick. October 14th, I should say, 2021, Governor Hochul announced a settlement or an agreement to settle and discontinue the New Yorkers for Student Educational Rights versus New York State case, following the state's commitment to fully fund the current foundation aid formula to New York school districts over 3 years and ending the state's prior opposition to providing this much needed funding for students. So states was initially opposing it, right? And again, like I said, according to this New York State Comptroller's report for the city of Yonkers, they are asking that the city rely less on state funding. So, and that's why they've been kind of opposing it. In the meeting with Dr. Casada mentioned that Yonkers had received money that was owed to the Yonkers Public Schools from Foundation Aid. It's no surprise that the governor would come to this agreement last year as she hopes to officially become elected by voters this coming election. While it's while it's the usual political move and should be taken with a grain of salt in regards to the governor Hochul, it's great that the city received the funding. What exactly is foundation aid, right? And how is it calculated? I want to shout out Senator Shelley Mayer. Senator Shelley Mayer fought hard to bring more funding to get the New York State to stop opposing, providing more funding to foundation aid. She, along with Senator Robert Jackson. So I do want to shout them out, say thank you, Senator Shelley Mayer and Robert Jackson. According to foundationaid.org, Yonkers is or was, because it could not be updated. I'm not sure if it's updated or not, this website. Yonkers is or was owed $52 million, $52,082,790 to be exact. I just wanted to mention that. So I'm not sure if the superintendent meant, if he meant that, when the foundation aid was fully funded, if it was for this year or that $52 million was fully funded. So I'm not have to give more specifics on that. But that's how much the state owed Yonkers in foundation aid. In the foundation aid formula, you use the state aid equals foundation amount minus an expected local contribution, right? So again, I'll read that again. This is the formula. The foundation aid formula used here in the state of New York is the state aid equals a foundation amount minus an expected local contribution. For example, taxes such as property tax and sales tax, right? That's important, both of them, which I want to talk about, and how Yonkers is currently being affected greatly by the foundation aid, or greatly by the developments, I should say, to their foundation aid. And I'll talk a little bit about that. By the way, the foundation aid amount is the spending level, right? The foundation amount is the spending level state policy makers believe is required to meet the state's students' performance standard. That's what foundation amount means. In New York, the foundation amount, or called adjusted foundation amount, or AFA, has several multiplicative components, including a phase-in percentage, a regional cost index, right? A regional cost index is basically, they have to determine the cost of things. Prices are different in different regions, so they have to factor that in. And a pupil index, or a pupil need index. That's also very important. A pupil need index, right? And I'll tell you what that means. The pupil need index indicates the percentage increase in educational costs associated with a district's at-risk students. Studies show that districts with high concentration of at-risk students must spend more than other districts to achieve a given student's performance targets. And that makes sense. So now that's important, very important. New York uses pupil weights to account for the extra cost of educating at-risk students. In the standard terminology for this type of aid formula, a weight of 1.0 for students from poor family leads to twice as much aid for non-poor students. All else is equal. And I have a formula here that I wanted to show. Looks like some, E equals MC squared type of thing, Albert Einstein stuff, and I will post it up. So I'm not sure what that means, actually. I would really like to know, though, this is what I would like to know. Does the city council members, do all of them understand this? Are they familiar with this? If not, they should be watching this podcast. Going back to the taxes collected by the city, the state factors that in when they factor the amount of local contribution. So when they're determining the state aid that they're going to give, and they're calculating this foundation aid formula, they factor in the local contribution. Going back to taxes. So my question is, will Yonkers be hurt even more with all the developments of luxury rentals? Right? Maybe giving them tax breaks actually is a good idea because it lowers the amount of revenue that the city's making. If they have to pay their full share, then the city will be generating on paper huge amounts of money. And then the state is going to look at that and say, well, you guys are generating all this money. Why do we have to help you so much? Right? So the money is sales and property tax the city will generate may lead to less money for Yonkers down the road. One of the complaints mentioned by the school district was the fact that Rochester gets twice the amount of Yonkers, but that's because Rochester isn't generating the same amount of revenue. Rochester's taxes are not as high as Yonkers, and Rochester also has a higher poverty rate. Right. So that's another reason they get more money, going back to the student, the pupil index or pupil need index. Right. So that's going to, affect that. And so now my question is, all these luxury rentals coming in, people with more money, how's that going to affect the Yonkers public schools, who are, 61%, or I should say 75% at a, economic disadvantage, the students. Right. So Rochester's contributions are less, and they get double based on pupil index. So again, how many on the city council understand that? How many do understand that? Because this is important when knowing. This is, why I need to see them asking questions. And they have, but they're fluff questions that make no sense, right? This is why when they're approving changes to zoning laws, right, in order to have, developments like the 25-story building that's going to go up on Hudson Street, or the 7 buildings that Excel is building, right? They have to think about what's that going to do to the funding from the state to the schools, because that will be increasing the revenue that the city brings. So not only will developments like that increase traffic, but also revenue for the city. Luxury rentals will make it appear that Yonkers public schools have student body where that are more, that are higher in the economic scale, right? Even though 75% are impoverished. So again, what effect will the luxury developments have on foundation aid or state funding? Will it cause us to have less money for students down the line or down the road? We're already coming up short. Again, Superintendent Dr. Quesada says we got more money, but not what we really need, right? So with all that said, Dr. Quesada, said that the budget for 2022-23 school year was going to be $690 million. Now, Rochester got a school budget is $1.2 billion. $1.2 billion. Rochester has about 10,000 more students. We have 25,000. They have roughly 35,000. Right. And so our school year budget is $690 million for the coming school year, I should say. And that's an increase of 3.9%. Now, what blows my mind was the fact that about 72% of that $690 million will go strictly to salaries and benefits. Salaries and benefits. That means that out of $690 million, $496,800,000, or almost $500 million, right, will go to the salaries and benefits, leaving less than $200 million, or $193,200,000 to be exact, to go towards the students in schools. So basically, we don't have a $690 million school budget. There is about a $200 million school budget. That's what's going to be applied towards school improvements, sports, music, and other programs, books and other supplies, computers, and other technology. right? And towards all other learning provided by the Yonkers Public Schools. So I thought that was an interesting fact. Another interesting fact mentioned by superintendent was the difference in the amount of state aid. Again, Yonkers received like city with Rochester, which I just explained the reason why. It has to do with, the poverty level and the local contribution, or the amount of money that the city generates, right? So that's an important thing. So, because Yonkers is in one of the richest counties. Westchester is one of the richest counties in the country. Right? We have many affluent communities here, like Scarsdale, Bronxville, Eastchester, where property taxes are $30,000, $40,000 and up. So this results in less money from the state for us, because of that also. But we do generate a lot of revenue here in the city of Yonkers. Taxes have gone up. Taxes have gone up 3.9%. I'm sorry, 2.9, 3%. And there's a lot of construction development going up. There's a lot of business happening here. And as soon as more people move in, sales tax should be going up. More people are moving into Yonkers, having homes built. They're actually homes, not just developments being built. So that's more property taxes. However, right, will that hurt us? Right? So what also hurts us and keeps us from getting more money, again, like I said, is increasing property taxes that have increased by 3%. And while then that may not seem like a lot, it adds to the appearance that Yonkers is wealthier than it actually is. So it is important that we try to maintain low property taxes, but the developments going up don't help, because these are luxury rentals generating more tax revenue for the city, but they're still not paying their fair share. So while developers win, the people lose. And these are some of the things that our city council just does not consider. They make no serious attempt to understand the budget, the developments they are helping get built, and what the people truly need, how they will be affected. Now, one seemed alarmed by the fact that 75% of the students live in poverty. Not one were concerned with the students with disabilities, and the fact that I see people posting about problems they have getting their child evaluated and receiving the services that they need. Nothing they mentioned truly mattered to the people. Nothing at all. John Rubo, in fact, asked Dr. Quesada if it would be a good idea to sell all the school buildings and then lease them to the investor that bought them. And Dr. Quesada had this face, you can see, like, I have to speak to some people about that, but I don't think it's a good idea to sell off our buildings. Like, this guy's trying to, test the waters to see what sticks, to see if he can make some deals for his investor buddies there, so they can buy up the Yonkers Public Schools and then get guaranteed rent from the city and state, and then eventually down the line want to sell them or convert them to some luxury rentals. Yeah, right. So then the city will be in court with these guys, right? This guy is unbelievable that he would ask that question and not mention anything about IEPs. That's unbelievable. Then Mike Breen, who he reminded the superintendent of a time when the city council was looking to sue parents. Yeah, they wanted the money, I guess, that was owed. So some parents had owed money. I'm not sure if it was for laptops or something that they didn't bring back, right? And Dr. Quesada responded by saying, I was not going to sue parents. I'm not suing parents. And Mike Breen was like, well, sometimes you have to do what you have to do. Hamburglar. It's not how you do it, Hamburglar. You don't sue parents in a school district where 75% of the student body is at or below the poverty line. Not everybody has a wife that's making a killing in real estate, Mikey. Unbelievable. And then Anthony Moranti. Anthony, you're not the only one that understands accounting. I mean, the Yonkers Public School has a whole finance department. I'm sure that they are qualified and skilled accountants. Why do you have to question them? It's like he wanted to find something and wanted to find something wrong. He goes, oh, I don't understand what, well, I'm looking over here, but the people, but the thing is that, but I want to ask you, if we go up, but I don't, it's I think the numbers would calculate, but like, dude, finish your sentences before you go into the next one, man. All that, he spun them in circles for 15 minutes only to be wrong. And then apologize and say, I'm sorry, I apologize, and shut up. Unbelievable. It's like they were just trying to ask questions. That's what it really seemed like. I don't know if because it's a budget meeting or because I'm saying they don't ask questions. Then came the majority leader. who coincidentally did an interview on the Yonkers Voice the other day. Her biggest concern was the kids having good penmanship. They got to learn how to write in script, right? And why she gives what reason? Because she's finding that when she's going to get petitions signed, people don't know how to sign their name. And it's very important that they know how to sign their name. So when I go to get their name on my petition, they sign it. Because I want to win again. I want to win re-election. That's all I care about. So can you please, Dr. Quesada, make sure that they are learning good penmanship. So Dr. Quesada said he's going to look into it, see how he can apply, the penmanship program into the schools. But you could see his face. This man has, a PhD, I guess. He's a doctor, Quesada, and he's having to deal with this. I mean, you can see it all over his face. All over his face. And a lot of people don't like Dr. Quesada. I've had a lot of negative things said to me about Dr. Quesada. I mean, I see someone trying to do things. I mean, I don't know how much real control he has over everything. I mean, the city budgets and school budget were combined. From what he said, he sounded like he was very genuine. He sounds like he's making some headway, but we have a lot to go with the schools. We have a lot to go with the schools. But is that Dr. Edwin Quesada's fault? Who are we to blame for the fact that our students don't have a real sports program, don't have real music and arts programs? Who are we to blame for that? I mean, I guess we could blame Dr. Quesada. He is the head of the Yonkers Public Schools, but in a city like Yonkers, is that how it works here? Do we blame Dr. Quesada? Right? I think that, again, Dr. Quesada did a great job. People have said things they didn't like, but I feel he's doing what he can, given what he has to work with. And from his presentation, he sounded like he cared. He did. And I like people that sound like they care. He didn't come off full of fluff. It was very well put together. Going back to Tasha Diaz now, interview on Yonkers Voice. I want to play the part because I didn't see it all the other day. But, our Yonkers public schools are very much in need of a lot. I couldn't believe that 75% of our student body is living at or below the poverty line. So I can only imagine what they're dealing with at home. And then they have to come to school and learn. And living with being married to a school social worker who worked in the Bronx for many, many years, I would hear some of the stories of kids, who would come there and would have trouble learning because they're being affected by what's going on at home. And so there were just so many problems. So there's just a huge need. It's a huge, huge need. And sports programs, music programs, these after school activities are very important, especially for kids who are coming from, the environments that many of them do come from. So I think it's important that we focus on that. And the education chair was interviewed on Yonkers Voice, the majority of Tasha Diaz, and she didn't mention anything like that. All she talked about, what she did was feed people. That's it. And I'm not trying to be negative. She wants to make it seem like I'm just targeting her, and I'll show you here in a bit. I'm not. You are the majority leader. You are the chair of the education department or the education committee. I'm sorry. You are an elected official. So I'm going to speak on you, especially if you're not doing your job, right? For hard against who? The Democratic supermajority? What do you mean by that? I'm sorry, I missed what I was saying. Bullshit. Yeah, I'm sorry. I forgot what you exactly. 100% of the kids going to Yonkers public schools are at risk. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I don't know if 100%, I mean, at the kids, at DeCharo, are they at risk? Pulaski? I guess we're all at risk, right? We're all at risk nowadays. Yes, we have to educate those kids in some form of fashion. Absolutely. Education is so important, right? If we want to, help individuals get out of poverty, because that's my big thing. I have this program that I've drafted. It's called BTC, Breaking the Cycle Program. My big, thing is helping individuals that grew up like me and, in impoverished environments with all the trauma, that they've experienced, and they, helping them to be put on a path to success and not becoming a victim of their environment, a victim of their circumstances, and becoming a statistic, and I feel as someone who, managed to forge that path, and not that I'm the only one, there are many others, but I'm here in Yonkers and I'm here in the community. as someone who's managed to forge that path, I don't understand why city officials have not approached me to do more. So, and I and it boggles my mind. And this is some of the issues I had. They see what I'm out there doing with my own money. And I'm going to talk about this in a little bit because they get praises. They don't do it out of their own money. They're not necessarily doing it for the kindness of their heart. They're doing it because they're elected officials, right? So we need to implement real programs with substance. And this is why I say things, why I may criticize, because the programs that we have, the few that we have, are not really impactful. They're not having sustained impacts, right? Long-term impacts. We have to have a focus and a goal. And I get it. Basketball programs outside of school and, things like that are cool. It keeps kids away from, idle time, right? Is the devil's playground, and it keeps them out of trouble. But what is happening after they leave that event or that game or whatever it is? What's, happening after that? Where's the real investment into that kid that it's going to pay off down the road, right? And the basketball game and just having some fun it's not accomplishing that. And that's my only thing. Expedited union contracts will need to be negotiated, or expired union. Yeah, absolutely. I hear that, many of the departments are operating without contracts, right? No way. I got to start playing the comments when I speak. The land will be worth more than the school buildings themselves. Yeah, could you believe that John Rubel would make such a suggestion as to sell the Yonkers public school buildings and then lease them back? That would cost the city more. That would cost the state more. Eventually, it would be such a huge problem. Like, this guy is unbelievable. And the fact that this is how he thinks. Like, people, I'm not trying to be negative. I'm not trying to just be critical and attacking these individuals. I'm not. I'm pointing out things that we all should be concerned with. That an individual, elected official, out of everything that was said there, that's what he would be concerned with. That's his input into the whole meeting, 2-hour meeting. City Hall have the money, no Board of Education. Well, I agree. That's what a lot of people are saying. I may agree with that, or I don't know for a fact, but when they combine the budgets, because they used to be separate. There used to be a city budget that was managed by a city, and then there was a school budget that was managed by, people just from the school. And then they combined that. And, that causes some confusion there. All right. And there's a lot of that makes it easy for money to kind of just be misappropriated. Let's just say that. So, what are your thoughts? The schools need much improvement. We have to help change that statistic. 75% of our student body is impoverished, and 77% of the students are Black and Latino. So we have to change that. We have to help kids break the cycle of poverty. So it's not just a perpetuated, cycle of poverty, in each generation, from generation after generation. It's just impoverished, and it was a big deal for me to break the cycle of poverty, to be the first to get my bachelor's, to be the first to get my master's, own a business, make over $100,000 a year. That was big deals for me. To be able to buy a home, have my kids grow up in a house in a backyard. I dreamed of that as a kid. I absolutely dreamed of that as a kid. And I'm sure there are many kids here in the city of Yonkers who dream of that as well. And we need to work harder to help them realize that dream. Absolutely.
Let's get it popping. Let's get it popping. Let's get it popping.
Let's get it popping, folks. Yesterday, I played the Tasha Diaz interview with the Yonkers Voice. However, I did not see the entire thing initially, and there was more to it. I want to say this. I did send a message over to Brian Hurrah. I was actually thanking him for the attention that he has been giving me. His attention has increased my viewership, followers, comments, likes, and everything else. And it showed me just how much people support me. So I appreciated that, because I could use it. It came at a good time. knowing that a lot of people out there supporting me saying, Freddie, don't stop. Don't let them scare you. Keep going. That was great. I needed to boost. So thank you, Brian. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. So I sent him a thank you message. I even offered to write him a check because the promotion that he's giving me is worth money. It's absolutely worth money. And I'm a nice guy. I think everybody should be paid for their work. Here at the end, Majority Leader, they talk about me, but they don't mention my name, the show. But he does said he. Ruro slipped up and said he. So I want to play that really quick.
Platform, it's becoming a powerful tool on many levels. When elections are being won by social media, meaning advertising, talking, exposing, talking about platforms. But social media is also being used by some in a negative way.
Yes, and that's a problem.
It's a problem. I seen actually this morning, yesterday, last week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks ago, a particular blogger that I don't care to mention the name, but we know who we are talking about. If you want to mention, you mention the name, but it's on you.
No, we give no one power.
Yes. But what is
You're giving me
problem?
power now.
What is the problem? Why is this person so strong about making you look bad? Something that was asked from you that you didn't give?
Yes, because
Check this out.
when was it? Back at last year's elections, I walked into the Castle Royale and I chose not to speak. And from then on, I've been a target because I chose not to speak.
And you became a target?
I became a target. I chose not to speak. He wrote an open letter about me.
Okay, so she says that, and yes, I want to talk about that. That was last year at the election party. I was invited to attend the reception, the celebration. For at the elections, Lakeisha Collins Bellamy had won and was celebrating, and I was there and videotaping it. But for her to say that I'm upset with her, having an issue with her because she didn't say hi to me when she walked in, shows how big her ego is. Her head is very inflated. And if you watch the entire interview, you can see that she is very full of herself. No, she didn't say hi to me. She purposely ignored me, but I didn't care. I didn't care. I didn't expect her to say hi to me. I wasn't even, why would she have? I already had been mentioning her. That was after she killed the affordable housing and lied to everyone. And then she strolled in after that, saying hi to all the developer guys that were there that she had helped out, or her donors, contributors. None of them constituents of District 3. She should at least say hi to me. At least she would have said hi to at least one minority. And it would have made more sense had she said he has an issue with me because I didn't come on his show. That would at least have more probability, more of being real. I mean, because you didn't say hi to me at the okay. That was a bad answer.
They called me everything from Mary J. Blige to
Gucci lady.
Get to everything. I mean,
but what's wrong with that? Mary J. Blige is the hip hop, is what is it? The queen of hip hop soul. Mary J. Blige is an R&B singer from Yonkers who came out of the Schlobomb Projects to become a legend. That's a compliment, Tasha. By the way, where's the blonde hair? Where's the blonde wig at?
those are not those kind of people I call non-factors. I'm not even going to mention their name because it does nothing.
Does that bother you though?
No, it doesn't bother me. I haven't responded. I'm not going to respond. I'm a woman, a wife, a mother. I have to keep myself focused because it's people like that that take the focus off the work that I'm doing, and then the city suffers, and it's not fair. If a person has that much time on their hands, there's something going on upstairs, right? If they can sit there and just attack a person constantly 3, 4, 5 times a day, there's something about me that's intriguing to you. I'm married. I know if my husband ranted on about a woman 5, 6, 7 times a day, every day,
It is a problem.
that is a problem. I mean, I would pull him to the side and say, what's going on here? I thought you were married to me. You know, my husband loves me. I love him. My kids love me, and they love what I do. The community loves me. They love what I do. I'm not here for people to like me. I'm here for change. And that's what I ran on. I ran on change. And a lot of
And
people
you ain't changed a
probably
damn
thought that I
thing.
was going to be bluffing, but I'm not. You can ask anybody about Bilton. I'm still the same person.
She ain't changed a damn thing. You ran on change and changed nothing. You are doing exactly what so many have done before, and exactly what one individual went to jail for. To imply that I'm speaking about you because I may have a thing for you just shows again the type of individual that you are and the lack of qualification you have for the job. Not just in your skills and knowledge, but in your personality. You're not doing anything. You have done nothing. You are not the only food distributor out here in the city of Yonkers. There are many pantries and other people distribute food with Feeding Westchester. You are not the reason that Yonkers is fed, because I started the Feed the Need program, which goes to the demographic that she ignores. Those that are homeless, those that can't drive up in their Toyota Highlander or Honda CRV to load up the back of their car with food from Feeding Westchester to take it to their home, put it in their fridge, and then cook it. What about the homeless? The people that I've seen digging in the garbage in Getty Square just to get something to eat on more than one occasion. And then I decided to start the Feed the Need program, which I have funded out of my own pocket. Aside from Gianna's Family Deli and John Cater of Impact, no one else has helped me. Now, one elected official has come and said, hey, how can we help you with your Feed the Need program? Because there's so many individuals out there in Getty Square alone. I'll do 60 to 100 lunch bags in Getty Square alone. I've delivered them to, I believe it's the West Hab on North Broadway. I bring them in 2 boxes of lunches. And this is good lunches. Gianna's Family Deli was giving me lunch bags that were worth at least $10. And we're talking 50, 60 bags each time they would drop them off. So shout out to Gianna's Family Deli on, I believe it's Midland Avenue. Please give them business. And if you're into dry aged steak, they have amazing dry aged steak. But now one elected official, Tasha Diaz, the majority leader, never asked. None of them, the council members, none of them. That's what we in the community as community organizations are to do. Not the majority leader, who is to assure that Yonkers public schools are well funded, especially as the education committee chair. But according to Dr. Quesada, we still need more. According to Corazon Pineda Isaac, another councilwoman who voted no on the budget, we need more. That was the reason why she voted no. Tasha, that is one of the individuals that you are having friction with, speaking negatively about in the council chambers. How unprofessional is that? My sources are everywhere, up and down City Hall. Kudos, community organizations rock. Yeah, that's right. And it's people like you, Maddie, that are the ones out there should be giving out food and everything else that you've done. That is not what an elected official is supposed to do. And while it's great and they, are more than, whatever, welcome to do it, if you're not focusing on what your primary responsibilities are, if you suck there, then you're not doing good as an elected official. Start an organization, start a nonprofit, and do that. But if that is your entire accomplishment as a majority leader, then you didn't do your job as a council member. Bottom line. So that is why I speak about you as well as the other council members. But you are the one that stands out the most. because you are the loudest. You are the one that flip-flopped on the housing ordinance. You are the one that screams in the city council chambers. Oh, that wasn't it. Man, let's get it popping. You are the one that threatens other council members. You threaten constituents. That is why I speak about you often. You are the one that is backed by Zahid Jarris, a convicted felon. And just yesterday, you sat next to a man charged with pedophilia as two young girls went to the police and reported that he inappropriately touched them as their karate teacher. Yet and still, you sit there next to a man while these children, who are probably children not anymore, or their families, see you giving this man the time of day and putting money in his pockets. I hope none of the money he gets ever from anyone in the city is taxpayer money, because I'll be damned if I'm paying for and funding a pedophile. People like you, thank you, Maddie. No, people like you keep the community going, because you don't have to do what you're doing, right? So I appreciate what you do. Thank you. Thank you very much. Pamela's Big Heart Foundation. Shout out to you guys. Gianna's Rocks. Absolutely. Absolutely. And so now, while individuals might be wondering why Freddy, or maybe not, because a lot of people know, Tasha, a lot of people know about you. They know what's up with you. But now I'm starting to understand why individuals like you are coming after me. Why Brian Hurrah is all of a sudden coming after me with these false allegations. It's the team. It's all about the team, folks. And I want to put up a post here from the Yonkers Newswire that was recently put up. And this is exactly what I'm trying to tell you folks here in the city. What I'm trying to show you, the nonsense and the games that are played. And I do want to say, shout out to County Legislator Jimmy Nolan. Now, this is a post put up by Brian Hurrah. And I didn't get it all, but it talks about facts. They delivered hundreds and hundreds of emergency bags of food for months and months. This is why I'm proud to say that I live in Yonkers. Well, we wish you did it. Ready, willing, and able. David Tubiolo, James Nolan, Ruros, Tasha Diaz, and Wilson Torrero, ghosts from the past, have all been willing to take the time out of their day and use their personal vehicles, not true, to take groceries, vegetables, and meat from the Yonkers Community Action Program to seniors and the disabled who are in need. Well, I'm going to say this to be very clear. Shout out to David Tubiolo. I do like the guy. He does go out there. He's in the community. So shout out to you. This is not about David. Shout out to County Legislator James Nolan. He's out there in the community. He's doing his thing. And I know that there's, some stuff there, but he's not killing housing ordinances. He's not selling out my people. And that is why I speak about the majority leader. But let's talk about Ruros. Let's talk about this gentleman with the mask on. Let's talk about the majority leader and Wilson Torrero. Who is Wilson Torrero? Well, he's been involved in politics. He has a history here in the city of Yonkers. He is a Latino. And I hear he has hopes of becoming mayor. But I'm wondering, Wilson, are you truly looking to run because you want to become mayor to do a great job? Or are you looking to simply divide the Latino vote because they know that a Latino is going to run? A serious Latino is going to run. And how do you hurt a serious candidate like a Latino? You put other Latinos in there to divide the vote. And so that's what I believe Wilson Torrero may be doing, because he knows he has no chance of winning. But if he was truly genuine, then I would support him all the way, but I don't think so. By the way, you got a nice backyard there, Wilson. Been to his house. And Brian Hurrah goes on Yonkers Newswire and his trash page to make ridiculous and disgusting allegations about me, but yet and still he will have individuals on his page and praise individuals who are pedophiles, who've been accused and charged with pedophilia. And I'm going to show the paperwork in due time. And individuals that are known to hit women, domestic violence. This is who he's praising right now. The man Hector Santiago assaulted me last year. And I had suspicion that, believe it or not, individuals in our city government had sent him. And one of those individuals is the majority leader. He assaulted me. He did. He punched me. I think. I don't know. He punched me. He then tried to charge me. He tried to bring me to the ground in front of the post office on Main Street. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, I'm way too old to be getting into fight. He swung at me. He charged me. It didn't end good for him, though. He ended up taking, the brunt of he got it the bad. So he went to the police. This was a setup by individuals. I know this sounds crazy, but it's actually true. He then went to the police and tried to report me for assault. The Yonkers police, the 4th precinct, called me the next day and said, we want to let you know that Hector Santiago came up here. He tried to, file a complaint against you for assault. However, we went to the business that we were in front of, which was Tyrone's house, actually. They got the video, and it showed that he attacked me, assaulted me. And I had no other choice but to defend myself. And I did that well. But I never mentioned it until I went to an event at Zoopda's. I was invited to a Tim Hodges event when he was running. And that's when I learned that people in politics, the insiders, because that was all insiders there, were talking about this. They all knew about it. The city council president approached me as I was at the bar, started talking to me. That was the first time we had a conversation. And she made a comment like, I see you're still good with your hands. And then she began to tell me about the Hector. I said, how did she know? And then another individual mentioned it the same night. And I said, wow, these individuals are talking about it. So they must have sent this guy. Because what they're trying to make me out to be is a hothead. So what they're trying to do is push my buttons. That's why they're making the allegations, the disgusting allegations. And that is why Hector tried to, antagonize me to assault him. They're looking to get me in a jam. That is why they sent an individual to my office. And it's all documented. Police were called. A lot of them came. They're trying to get a reaction out of me. And I'm not going to react. I'm going to continue doing basement politics. So how is it that Brian Hurrah feels that it's okay to praise a pedophile and a man that has been arrested for domestic violence, beating on his woman, but he couldn't beat a man? Then you have Mr. Wilson Terrero, the great divider of the Latino community, along with Majority Leader Tasha Freeman. These are a group of individuals that are operating here in the city of Yonkers that work in cahoots. These individuals are backed by Zahi Jeris. And I hear that the Jordanian community, or maybe the Arabic community, is that how you say Arabic? I'm not Arab, I get, are upset with me. A lot of them don't like me. I apologize. I sincerely do. To the entire Jordanian community, happy Independence Day, and my apologies if I've offended anyone in your community. Many were offended when I spoke about Nader Sage and his family members. Yes, not all Sage are related, but I only mentioned his family members, the ones that were arrested, the ones that were convicted. I got the information from Google. Don't be mad at me. You need to speak up and say, we need to get this individual, Zahi Jeris, out of politics because he is making our community look bad. He is dividing our community. Your churches are divided. Your churches are divided. So for Brian, again, going back to have these individuals on his page and praise them and say that they were there doing so much, yet not mention what I've done. And in fact, he did one time, but he has since deleted it. And call me some child pornographer guy when I'm out there out of my own money, feeding people, assisting people with CPS problems, assisting parents with their children, providing individuals who just came home from jail with a job when no one else will hire them. And other things that I do, and not one person has given me funding. Now, one of these elected officials have come and say, Freddie, thank you for what you're doing. How can we help you build it and make it bigger? None of them pay this out of their pocket. Now, one of them, and with those individuals there that he's praising that did all this stuff, came out of pocket. Tasha Diaz doesn't come out of pocket. I don't know what Rurose does besides film things. People who are being put into ambulances after having overdoses, or people's family members who were found dead. That's what he does. And Mr. Santiago, I helped you. I funded many of your food drives. And I went along with you to St. Joseph. Remember that? Remember the masks and gloves that I handed out? Over 500 pairs of masks and gloves I bought and paid with my own money. And I set up events where some of these elected officials tried to attach themselves to it. But none of that is mentioned. I don't care, though. I just want to point out the lies, the individuals that work here in cahoots in the city of Yonkers that are operating together to continue holding on to power. And until we break that up and we understand exactly what is going on, how they are operating, who are the players, where the money's coming from, where is the money going, we're not going to ever break out of this. So, Brian, please take those individuals down. Well, James Nolan, I like James. I don't want to say anything negative about James Nolan. David Tubiolo, also, I like David. Those guys are good. But the rest, no bueno. I'll say it in Spanish. No bueno. No bueno. Wilson, I know you were involved in that redistricting thing. You hurt Black and Hispanics, Wilson. Blacks and Hispanics. Thank you, Maddie. And by the way, Maddie, you know what happened with Hector? I was going to make amends with him and tell him that we needed to unite because there was so much friction. That was the time when on Facebook, when he, along with Lorraine Lopez and Tasha Diaz, were accusing you of things and threatening to call CPS on you. I remember that post. And I had mentioned something to him and I said something to him about it because I was going through my CPS thing and I didn't think that that was funny. And so these are the individuals that operate here, and that's how they are, folks. And I'm just trying to show you who they are and that we need to do better and that we need to look out for individuals like a Wilson Terrero who will look to run simply to split votes. He is an insider. He is very much connected. And he is the same old, same old. These are the recyclables. And Tasha Diaz, just to be very clear, I love my wife. I don't want to be mean to you. So I'm just going to say that my wife is very beautiful and I'm very happy. I mean, I don't know why people seem to think that I want somebody else. First it was Lauren Cater, and now you think that I want you. I'm very happy. You're an elected official. You're not doing your job. And in my honest opinion, in my heart of hearts, you are corrupt. You sold us out. You got the majority title because you killed the housing ordinance. And there's nothing you're ever going to do to change the way I feel and a lot of other people feel. I'm Freddy Vasquez, Basement Politics. Thank you for joining me. Freddy Vasquez, you are the truth. Thank you for existing. No, Thank you for watching and supporting. We all do this together. This is a team effort, you know? So I want to just make that very clear. I'm not looking to shine. I'm not I, me. I'm not Tasha Diaz. She didn't even give anyone any props, any of the volunteers that have helped to distribute food. She never mentioned them. It was all me. I did this, me did that. I did this, me did that. Not no one. She didn't thank anyone. Unbelievable. Thank you. We got to change the schools up, right? We got to make them better because we need to improve all the schools. You know, it can't just be a few schools and then parents. And don't you find it strange that so many of elected officials or, you know, people that are connected have their kids in these certain top schools? How did you all manage to do that? What are the probabilities? What are the odds? Isn't it a lottery? That's like they all play the lottery and they all hit, but the rest of us play, we just lose our money. What are the odds? What are the odds? So let's improve all the schools so that way we don't have to choose, right? We can just say, hey, this is a school that I want, and I know I'm going to get in because everyone's not fighting for the same few. I'm Freddy Vasquez. Thank you for watching, and I hope that I've explained some stuff in terms of the Yonkers Public School Board, Yonkers Public School budget and how foundation aid works and why we don't seem to get the money that, you know, we feel, or the city of Yonkers, the public schools feel we should be getting. It's all about that foundation aid formula. And believe it or not, these developments are going to hurt that. They're going to create a situation where they're going to cause less money for the city public schools from the state down the road because of the revenue that they will be generating, the taxes that they will be paying. And there's still so many other developments going on. So how much would that affect our city schools? I'm Freddy Vasquez. Thank you for joining me. Have a great night. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and happy Memorial Day. And to the Jordanian community and the Arabic community as a whole, again, I sincerely apologize. My intention was never to insult or offend the entire community. I simply spoke about individuals that are not so nice. And you have to agree with me, right? I mean, right there on Google. Google it. I am Freddy Vasquez. This is Basement Politics Unfiltered. Thank you for watching me. Thank you for the support. I appreciate all of you. Everyone is equally important. Without you, I don't exist. So thank you. Please continue to share the podcast. Please continue to talk about it and let them know we want change. Change starts with new, fresh faces, new, fresh perspectives, and new, fresh ideas. We want people that are passionate about the community and not so passionate about their quality. Thank you, Bill. Thank you, folks. Have a great night.
I was raised in housing. I don't think you were. I want.
In another one, Mr. Rubo lied to me, and I don't vote for a person that lied to me. Thank you very much.
Freddy wins. Fatality.
You know, what is that sweet spot?
I was raised in housing. I don't think you were. I went to Yonkers Public Schools. I don't think you did. We can go on all night with this, honey.
Freddy wins. Fatality.
Shout out to you, Majority Leader. Shout out to you, girl. You go, girl. Look at you in your first term already, the Majority Leader. Girl, you go, girl. You go, girl. You got it. You doing your thing, baby. You're amazing. You're incredible.
Freddy wins. Fatality.
You're watching Basement Politics with my dad, Freddy Vasquez.
You're watching Basement Politics with my dad, Freddy Vasquez.
Thank you for watching Basement Politics with my husband, Freddy Vasquez.
Freddy wins. Fatality.